We are very, very aware that choosing a secondary school is kind of one of the biggest decisions that you will make in terms of your child's education. And right now that decision is being made even harder and potentially more stressful by the fact that you're unable to actually get into the schools and see them for yourselves and meet the people who are potentially you're going to be entrusting your child's education to. So the format of this evening, what we're really is give you an opportunity to get to know us a little bit better. We will introduce you to some of the key features of our school that make our school special and potentially a little bit different to some of the other secondary schools in the city. But we really do want to give you an opportunity also to ask us questions and find out what you want to know about our school. So the format of the evening will be that we're going to start by showing you our virtual prospectus, which will really give you an overview of our school. And then after that, we'll go into more of a Q&A session where we will try to answer as many of your questions as possible about what our school is like. I'm joined this evening by James McNaughton, who is my deputy head teacher, Mike Higgs, assistant head teacher, and my name is Kay Wood, and I'm the head teacher here at the Swan. So Mike, if I could ask you just to play the video, and then we'll get started.
Here at the Swan School, we want all of our students to leave us having achieved more than they ever believed possible. Part of that is their academic success. We have a rigorous academic curriculum which sets them up to gain brilliant qualifications and the skills that they need to thrive in their life after school. But it's also about their personal and social development. We want children to leave us with happy memories and plenty of friends, but also a sense of responsibility for their community and the drive and the passion to go out and make this world an even better place. Swan students can expect to work with teachers and support staff who are absolutely committed to their success. They can expect to learn and play in a really calm environment where they're safe to be who they want to be and learn to the very best of their ability. And most importantly, this school is a place where everyone is really passionate about education, and we are not afraid to do things slightly differently in the best interests of our students. So every single secondary school aims to be a brilliant, outstanding school. But I think there are 5 key things that we do differently here at the Swan that make this school a truly special place. Firstly, we have the very highest expectations of behaviour in our school, which means that the children can learn and play without disruption. Secondly, our rigorous academic curriculum. Our children learn really interesting, challenging content, which we know is going to set them up to develop the skills and qualifications that they need to be successful later in life. But it's not just about our academic curriculum. Our pastoral care is also extremely important. We dedicate 45 minutes every single day to tutor time, where our children engage in activities such as our personal development curriculum, thought for the week, and also guided reading. Fourthly, we have a longer school day, which means that our teachers get to spend more time with the children, developing their academic skills, but also their personal and social development. This allows us to make enrichment activities an entitlement for every single child, rather than just a privilege for some. And finally, our family dining. In the middle of the day, every single member of our community, students and staff, sit down together and share a meal. The children develop their responsibility by taking on different roles in the family dining service, and they also develop their conversational social skills by engaging with a conversational topic that is set by a member of the senior leadership team who leads lunch. We expect our students to strive to demonstrate our 4 school values, which are ambition. We expect our students to be ambitious in the goals they set for themselves and to strive to be the very best they possibly can be. Dedication is where we recognise the importance of hard work and keep going even when things are difficult. Kindness means looking after one another and treating other people the way we wish to be treated ourselves. And finally, our most important value of integrity, which is where we ask our students to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do, not because they're worried about either the negative consequences or motivated by reward. Now, we don't expect our students to be perfect, but we do expect them to strive to be the very best they possibly can be. We expect them to reflect on their actions, and if they make mistakes, to learn from them to be even better next time. We always say that what makes a great school is not the buildings themselves, but the people inside it. But having said that, excellent design does make a difference. We are fortunate enough to be in brand new buildings with state-of-the-art facilities. In addition to the excellent classrooms, we also have specialist facilities for subjects such as science, music, drama, art and design technology. We have a fantastic library and sixth form study centre, and we also have brilliant sports facilities and social spaces, which means that children can get out, play and learn.
You get a lot out of your lessons, but it's also such a lovely family group, because you get to know the teachers really well, you get to know the students really well because of family dining and things like that. And the longer days, you spend a bit more time with your teachers, you spend a bit more time with your class. It's really nice.
The first thing that always jumps out to me is how calm it is to be a teacher at Swan. You often go into other schools and the teachers are running around and they're stressed and they're all sort of seem just like in a slight panic. But when you're teaching at Swan, even when you're busy, even when we're moving from lesson to lesson or something doesn't quite go to plan, we're calm, the students are calm. And it just means you can get on with your job as a teacher, teaching the students without it becoming stressful or frantic or the things that can make being a teacher and being a student honestly like quite difficult in a secondary school. Not a case of just saying, well, here are our expectations, we expect 15 really challenging things, off you go. It's about explaining to them why, bringing them with us through that process, because in the end it gets to the point where it's a really nice place to be for everyone and not just a really strict school, which is not sort of, it may look like that from the outside, but that really isn't the atmosphere that we want to create or we have. The lengthened school day serves like two purposes really. It enables the students to have a range of elective opportunities that ordinarily would only be available to students whose parents are willing to drive them to a place, to drop them off, to maybe pay for these things. So we give them opportunities to do sort of debating, to do additional sort of subjects, study of history or another language or fine art or extra sport. Building it into the school day guarantees it for every student. And that's something that we feel quite strongly. Again, it's that consistency of offering. Your success in school shouldn't rely solely on like whether your parents can provide, you know, great reading books at home or great extracurricular opportunities. The extended day allows us to make sure every student gets access to the same thing and guarantees the kind of quality of experience for every single one of our students.
We have academical electives on Monday and more physical ones on Wednesday. On Mondays, I went for quite a few of the language ones. I went for Mandarin, which was really, really good. And I also went for Latin, which was something that I would have never really thought of doing otherwise. And we also, on Wednesdays, we get to go out and sort of do drama club, for example, and we get to help out in the community or do team sports, which, yeah, is really, really fun.
I support the students who are maybe having a little bit of a difficult time, that might be at home or at school. So by giving them some extra intervention, checking in on them, and just making sure that they know that school is a safe space where they can feel supported. So always making sure there's a member of staff that students feel that they can talk to and they can come to you with any concerns. And I can then ensure that things get sorted out in a way that's like productive and we can move forward in a really positive way. So tutor time at the Swan School is a really important part of our day. We have it in the middle of the day, not at the start, so that it's actually as much focus is put on that as a normal lesson. We do different things throughout the week. So on a Monday, for example, we have assemblies that are led by a member of the senior leadership team. We also do our personal development curriculum during tutor time. And that is when we are working on educating the child sort of as a whole, because we don't just want our students to leave with fantastic results, which is obviously really high up there, but we also want them to leave ready to go out into the adult world, ready to face things and with resilience. And that's what we work on in our personal development curriculum.
In terms of delivery, we've thought really hard about what the research tells us the most effective way to teach. And, you know, we know that's kind of direct instruction and then lots of practice. So, you know, we focus with our teachers on modelling really, really clearly and then thinking about what it is that students do in the classroom. And giving them lots of opportunities to practice, either individually or in small groups and pairs, and building that in and planning that out in advance, and making sure that, if new research comes out telling us to do something different, we're flexible to do that as well. On our website, you can see that our aim is kind of happy, well-rounded students who are ready to contribute to their community, who have a sense of themselves, who have a sense of their obligations and their need to contribute more widely to the community, but also with lots of happy memories and lots of friends. So, if that's our mission statement, then yeah, absolutely, it's right. We don't just teach maths, English, science, geography. We also give them opportunities to get out, to explore the world around them, to understand the environment, to explore public speaking and debate, to get involved in drama, music, arts, to do lots of sports. So yeah, absolutely, this is crucial to us.
Now I know what the Swan School is really like. I don't want to go anywhere else. It's absolutely lovely here, and I definitely recommend it to everyone on this earth.
Thank you. So I hope that gives you a little bit of an introduction to us as a school, what we're about, what we value. The next portion of this evening is going to be our Q&A session. We are going to start by answering some of the questions that have been submitted before this evening, and you can also text live questions in using the number that was on the screen earlier. For those that you didn't manage to catch it, it is 07476 548 605. So that is for any live questions that you would like to ask. Please, could we ask you not to use the chat function in the meeting, only because we're obviously sat over here, so we're not going to be able to read or respond to your questions in the chat. The other thing I would say is that we will be starting kind of focusing on more of the general questions that you're asking. If there are specific things that we're not able to answer in this portion, please do feel free to email into the school to either get an individual response or speak to a member of staff, and I'll give you details about how to do that at the end of this session. So James is going to be facilitating, and he has a computer in front of him with all of the questions that have been sent in. So if he is scrolling through, that's what he's doing. He's not just kind of lost attention. In terms of answering those questions, James leads on kind of curriculum, achievement, and also our SEN support. Mike will be answering questions on kind of the pastoral and behaviour aspects of the school, and I'll try to kind of cover anything else that's asked. So James, over to you.
Great. Well, first thing I just want to say is I'm already getting a lot of questions during the session coming in. So you're going to have to bear with us. We're not going to have time to answer every question. That just has to be said. We'll do our best to answer as broad a range as physically possible. So the first category of questions I want to talk about were questions about our broad ethos on the whole school. So we'll start quite general. What is different about the Swan School, Kate?
Yeah, so I suppose, we really have a very, very strong ethos and a vision about children leaving us having achieved more than they ever believed possible, both in terms of their academic success, but also their kind of their personal, social development, happy memories, and that sense of responsibility for their community. But I suppose that every single school and every single head teacher will probably say similar things about what they want to achieve. So I suppose what you need to know is what makes us different. As a general point, one of the things that makes us different is the fact that we are a brand new school, which means that we are able to start with a blank canvas, building on our experiences working in outstanding and highly successful schools all around the country. We're taking that learning and we are putting it into a brand new school and kind of putting the very best parts of those schools together in order to be really successful. More specifically, there are 5 things that make us, I think, different to and distinguish us from some of the other schools within our local community that you may be considering. The first is those high expectations of behaviour. We do have really, really high expectations of behaviour because we know that in many schools, poor behaviour is is the biggest reason why children are not able to learn to the best of their ability, but also why some children don't feel safe and happy in school. So we put really high standards of behaviour front and centre of what they do, because it creates this calm, happy, safe environment. That then allows us to pursue our really rigorous academic, knowledge-rich curriculum, which is a big focus. Also, our pastoral support, we offer about 45 minutes of pastoral tutor time every single day, which is double approximately what you would get in a normal secondary school. So it's really important to us. I guess a fourth thing that makes us different is our extended day. So compared to a regular secondary school, we teach for about 4 hours longer every single week. And we use that time for supervised study, which is an opportunity for the children to develop their independent learning skills in school, but also our electives programme, which is our programme of enrichment. We feel that those kind of activities, essentially kind of our clubs, are so important that they are something that it should be an entitlement for every single child, not just a privilege for some and those children who, whose parents are able to afford to give them those opportunities. And then the final thing that makes us a little bit different is our family dining, which is the way we eat lunch together. All of our students and our staff sit down together in the middle of the day, sharing a hot, nutritious meal, and also developing their sense of responsibility and their conversational skills as well. So I'm sure we'll delve into some of those in a little bit more detail in a moment, but I think those are the kind of key things that make us a little bit different to some of the other schools in the area.
Great. We've had some in advance and some questions tonight about the just kind of general characteristics of the school. So at the moment we have 120 year 7s and 120 year 8s. They're organised into 4 form classes in each of 30. So the normal class size at Swan is 30, although we do have some smaller groups for kind of catch-up maths and for literacy interventions. Next year we plan to admit 180 year 7s, so we're expanding. It's a bigger year group that you guys will be a part of. And we're also opening a small sixth form with between 40 and 80 students in year 12 joining in September. So we're looking on roughly doubling. So next year there'll be 6 classes of 30 in year 7. But good news, that will actually be split into smaller form classes with 8 smaller form classes in the new year 7. So that's roughly our kind of size and structure that I've had several questions about. One question as part of our ethos that I'm getting a lot of questions about is our extended day. So I wondered if you wanted to tell us a bit about your rationale for the extended day.
Yeah, so on a very high level, we do have an extended day because that gives us more time with the children in school, that allows us them to work with members of staff and so on, which is really, really good for their outcomes. Very specifically in years 7 and 8, we use that for 2 things. Firstly, and most importantly, is our elective programme. We have 2 elective slots per week. The first slot is our academic electives, which is more kind of extended classroom study. So things that we've included there have been creative writing, public speaking, Mandarin, classics is another thing that we've done, German, coding have all been part of our academic electives. And then we have an extended elective time at the moment. That's on a Wednesday, where the children get involved in more hands-on things. So that's our physical, creative and community electives happen on that kind of extended slot. And the second thing to say is the supervised or independent study, where the children have an opportunity to do large portions of their homework in school under supported supervised conditions, and that also helps them to develop their independent study skills.
Great. I've had a couple of questions about uniform. Yes, we do have a school uniform. All details can be found on our school website. And all of our school uniform is gender neutral, so boys and girls can choose which pieces of uniform they wish to wear, so no restrictions on trousers or skirts for either gender. Last one about whole school ethos is a parent who attended our open evening last year, which was in person, and just wanted to know a bit about how we feel the school's progressed in the first year of it.
So over the year, we are a relatively new school, but I want to kind of reassure you that all of our planning is done with a full school in mind. So the things that we deliver in year 7, have delivered in our first year, our second year, we absolutely know that we can continue to offer that same very, very high standard as our school expands. Having said that, we absolutely, continue to reflect, and we think that all the very best schools continue to, reflect on what they're doing, learn in order to get even better. So we are constantly adapting, trying to make our school the very best possible place it can be. But really, we've had a very, very positive start, and a hugely successful start to the second year, which has really been, a doubling in size in terms of our student body and moving to our new school.
Great. The next section of questions we're going to talk about is about the facilities, which is really exciting because we've just moved into our new building this September. So as a PE teacher, Mr. Higgs, I'm going to forward the first question to you. Could you tell us a bit about the sports facilities at the Swan?
Yeah, so obviously with being a brand new building, all the facilities are sort of state of the art, latest technology, very modern facilities. In relation specifically what our sports facilities we have, so we've got a number of indoor spaces. So we've got a sports hall, which obviously will be where things like basketball, badminton, and any sort of indoor lesson you'd want to take place could happen in there. We've also got an activity studio, which is attached next to the sports hall, which again can be used for gymnastics, dance, fitness, and again, any sort of indoor lesson could happen in there. We also have a number of other indoor spaces in the main school that could be used for things such as dance lessons or drama lessons, or a music lesson or a drama practice, whatever you wanted to do. In terms of the outside areas, we've got a grass area which has a football pitch and a rugby pitch on it. And obviously during the summer term will be used for athletics areas, athletics track, rounders pitches. It also has an artificial cricket wicket on it, and we're also very, very fortunate to have 4 multi-game surfaces in our within our site, which obviously are great for any multi-use sports you want to do, such as tennis, hockey, netball. Again, really, really state-of-the-art facilities and a lot of range there that you can do lots of different sports on.
Great. And kind of moving in the facilities direction, how about some of our facilities in the main building? Do you want to talk about some of our specialist facilities for things like music and science and technology?
Yeah, so obviously we've got specialist classrooms that are equipped with all the right technology for all those subjects, for music facilities in terms of setting up keyboards or setting up an orchestra. We've also got obviously all the science labs are kitted out with the correct equipment that you would need in a science lab. We've also got some super science labs which cater sort of two classrooms in them at once, so really, really big spaces that can be used. So yeah, again, really state-of-the-art sort of facilities for all those specialist subjects.
And I guess that sets us up quite well for things like after-school clubs and teams, Mr. Higgs?
Yeah, so obviously those facilities will allow us to do really amazing things with our elective programme, offer really great things for all children in terms of getting all children to play an instrument if they want to play an instrument, take part in a sports team if they want to play in a sports team, but also develop that excellence in those subjects as well, whether that be taking part in the sports teams during the morning clubs or maybe joining the choir during the clubs in the morning as well.
Okay, brilliant. So that's a little bit about our whole school building. The last thing to say about the school building is there's a few questions about when it will be finished. Will it be kind of continuing to be built over the next year or two? Do you want to...
Yeah, I'll take that one. So at the moment, as you know, we have a partial occupancy of our site. We are expecting and they're projecting the finish dates for the internal and external parts of our building to be the end of November this year. Now, we do know, of course, with the current situation that there may be some slight delays to that if anything changes with regards to lockdown, but I want to reassure you that there is absolutely zero chance that this building will not be fully ready to be able to welcome your children when they start with us in year 7. And in fact, they will have be the really special position that they'll be the first new year group to walk into kind of the brand new building right from the start of their time with us.
Great. The next grouping of questions is around the curriculum. So a question I've seen lots of times is about setting and streaming. and use of kind of key stage 2 assessments. So obviously we gather in assessment data that we get in for students, but we don't use that to set or stream in year 7. We have mixed ability form classes, which they're taught in predominantly at the moment. Our vision for the post-COVID landscape is that students will be mixed up randomly in most of their subjects. In the longer run, we may look to set in maths as they move into key stage 4, and particularly in science, because in those subjects they have tiered papers at GCSE, so it makes sense to separate. But certainly in humanities, languages and arts, we are looking to have mixed ability groupings. Another question we've had a lot of times is about languages. So at the moment, all of our students study French. We see languages as a core part of our curriculum, which means all students will study languages all the way to the end of year 11. We are excited about the opportunity of potentially giving a choice of language in year 7, and we're exploring the opportunity of adding a second one, which we may give parental choice to, and we'd let you know more about that later in the year. But at the moment, every child does French. We also offer a range of languages as a part of our electives, including Latin, Mandarin, and German last year. And we're excited about the idea of extending that and looking at different options there. So exciting language provision. We do currently have a native speaker teaching French, but obviously when we expand our languages team, we'll be looking for the best person for the job. If that person happens to be a French or Spanish speaker, then great. If it's an English speaker, we don't have a problem with that, but we'll look for the best candidate. Bit about music. So music makes up a really key part of our curriculum, has the same weighting as history, geography, art, etc. So a number of curriculum lessons. We also offer instrument lessons to students. Parents can sign up for those, and we offer a range of music clubs and electives, for example, orchestra and choir, and the ensemble as part of our electives. And last year we ran a really successful carol concert at Trinity Chapel, which was incredibly brilliant evening actually. So we're really committed and passionate about our music provision. In terms of our general academic focus, and lots of people are asking about what this means and what this looks like. So for us, success isn't just exam results, although obviously exam results are a big part of it. It means students leaving the Swan as happy, conscientious citizens. I think I talked about this a bit in the video. It means that we've got students who have lots of knowledge about the world, who are curious, who have lots of friends, who've had great experiences, and who are ready to take the next step, whatever that means. Now, that may mean, applying to Oxbridge, and it may mean taking on a vacation. It may mean further study at a local college. It may mean staying with us for sixth form. So we have a broad definition of success, but what we don't believe in is kind of lowering our standards for everyone. We think that, it's not putting limits, it's not setting target grades, it's challenging students to better themselves every day and work really hard and be really ambitious and dedicated. So for us, that's what ambitious academic curriculum means. Not 7s, 8s, and 9s of GCSE, but something much wider and richer than that. I don't know if you've got anything to add to that one.
No, I think that's covered it really well, and I'd say that as a result of the environment that we have created, I've worked in education for a very long time in extremely successful, outstanding schools, and the work that our children are excelling in and tackling in year 7 and 8 compared to all of those other schools is way beyond what would be expected in other environments, and that is to do with the way the curriculum is designed, but also the environment in which they're learning really does allow them to excel.
Great. Okay, so we'll move on to that area. We'll come back to curriculum if we've got more time, because it's just such a huge area. The next one is about lunch. So I'm just going to ask a general question first. What's the system for school lunch at the Swan?
Yeah, I'll take that one. So this is an area that we are different to a lot of other schools. We have something called family dining, which is, I think, one of the best parts of our school day. And what it means is that every single member of our community, both staff and students, sit down together in the middle of the day and share a meal. We are recreating that family setting that is so successful in your own home environments. The reason we do this is threefold. Firstly, we think nutrition is really important, so we want all of the children eating a hot, healthy meal in the middle of the day. Secondly, it teaches the children about responsibility. We give each of them a role that they do at lunchtime, so they take responsibility for making sure their lunch is served and their table is tidy, and we think that's really important in terms of their sense of responsibility for their community. And the third thing is that it helps them to develop their social skills. That's partly because we assign them tables and we make sure that they are able to include everyone in their family dining experience. But we also give them a topic of conversation each day, which we ask them to discuss. Now, that's not to say that that is the only thing that they discuss for the whole of lunchtime, but it's a bit more like, imagine you're going to a dinner party and there's a conversation starter at the meal. It gives them an opportunity as something to kind of really hook their conversation onto, which, as I say, really does help them to develop their social skills. And at the end of the meal, we pick children to stand up and share their thoughts on that conversation topic with the rest of the group. And, you know, there's a huge range of different types of topics that may cover. You know, they can be quite serious, linked to things that are in the news, but they can also be quite silly. So over the last couple of weeks, we've had, for example, what superpower would you have and why? You know, things that the children are interested in that are just going to generate that conversation.
Great. Okay, so a few more questions leading on from that. Are students allowed to bring in their own lunch from home? That's both generally and particularly in the context of coronavirus.
Yes, so no, is the short answer to that. And the reason for that is we think our family dining is so important and we want every single child to take part in it. They can bring in a snack for their break time, and we also do have breakfast club in the morning, and there is free porridge available to all students from 8:15 in the morning. And we've continued that policy around lunch throughout coronavirus because we think it's such an important special part of the day. We've done everything we can in terms of reducing the number of children at tables, including changing the way we actually serve the meals in terms of individual boxes and things. All of that has been done in order to keep family dining because we see it has so many benefits.
Great. So several more questions around here. So I've got a few questions about cost. So are the family lunches and breakfast and snacks, etc., free, or do they need to pay for them?
So porridge is free for all children in the morning. There are snacks that they can buy using a cashless system at breakfast club and also at break time, or they're also welcome to bring their own healthy snack in with them. Lunch is paid for except for families that receive free school meals.
Great. And what about if a child doesn't like the school lunch? What if they're a fussy eater? What will happen then? And then obviously particularly further than that, what happens if they have a special dietary requirement or a medical need?
Yeah, really good question. So on the kind of the general fussiness element, I think that, you know, one thing to say is that we work with our students to try to make sure that we have meals that they will enjoy. We think there's a balance between, you know, making sure that the meals are really healthy, but also tasty and kind of suitable for the palates of young people. There may occasionally be things that they haven't tried before, but lots of feedback that we get from parents is that, you know, they have been a fussy eater at home, but because of the lunch set up here, they've now tried new things and they've really broadened their diet, which we think is a really, really good thing. On occasion, there will be meals that they don't enjoy all of, but there's always something as part of the meal that they can eat. So whether that's, okay, there's a quiche and they don't particularly like the quiche, but they do eat the potato salad and the dessert that is also part of the lunch. Having said that, you know, special dietary requirements in terms of allergies and things like that are a separate thing. We do cater, our caterers provide separate meals as part of the family dining service for those children that do have those special dietary requirements. Something else, one last thing to say on our lunches is that they are vegetarian, and that is to ensure that all members of our community can share the same meal. It gives us huge environmental benefits, which is really important to our young people. We know that's something that they care about, and it also means that we can give them a better quality of meal for the same price.
Great. And one for you, Mr. Higgs, here, just to finish up on lunch. Do children eat family lunch with the same people each day, and how do you choose the groups?
So we currently group the children in their houses. So that means in each lunch sitting there is a year 7 form group and a year 8 form group, and they're from the same house, for example, the Hawking house. So we really value the importance of them spending time with older children and children outside of their year groups. That's our main reason for that. On each table, there would be a preset seating plan where they would sit with other children. So there'd be a couple of year 7s or a couple of year 8s on each table together. We decide the seating plan. So there's no sort of, and no one's left out, or there's no sort of friendship groups together. It's all sort of very mixed. And we change the seating plan 3 times a year. So they'll get to sit with 3 different groups.
Great, thanks, Mr. Higgs. So we're going to stick with you now. We're going to talk a very big area here about kind of pastoral and behaviour. So the first thing I'm going to ask you about is kind of what's the overall approach to kind of behaviour and pastoral care at the Swan?
Yeah, thank you. So I think first and foremost, if as Miss Woods already said, if you send your child to the Swan School, they'll go to lessons that are disruption free. So they'll be able to maximise their learning opportunities every lesson. And they'll also be able to feel safe and happy around the school throughout the school day, and they won't really experience any bullying or poor behaviour from other children. So that's really important to us, and we have those high expectations to allow every child to achieve more than they believe possible. Now, how we do that is through 3 main ways. Firstly, it's by having the adults modelling really calm and really kind behaviour at all times. So your child will never be shouted at the Swan School for doing something wrong. We always believe in modelling the behaviour we expect to see. Secondly, we have our really, really clear routines. These are routines such as like our whole school lineups, our whole school silent transitions when children move between lessons. And we also have classroom routines such as eyes, ears, track. Teachers say eyes, ears, track when they want the children to be quiet in their lessons. And these expectations, these routines mean that children are really unlikely to make a mistake because they know exactly what's expected of them throughout all times of the day. So it helps them to navigate it. And thirdly, that's really supported by our behaviour policy and our sort of consequence system, which we use if we have to. We have really, really clear consequences for things such as forgetting your homework or wearing incorrect uniform or talking in the corridors. And that allows us to remind children of our really high expectations we have of them, with really, really short, sharp consequence. We also have the expectation that we want every lesson to be disruption free. So in lessons, if children are displaying any low-level disruption, they will receive a warning. And that could be, for example, talking when the teacher's talking or talking during an individual task. And if that persists at any point in the lesson, they would be removed. And again, that's about us making that statement that we want every single lesson to be disruption free. We want teachers and students to be able to teach and learn in that really calm environment so they, again, can achieve more than they believe possible. So that's sort of how we create it. And I think if you walked around the school on a typical day, as the video shows you on a typical day, you would see really, really calm lessons where children are working really, really hard and enjoying themselves. But most importantly, you would also see really positive relationships between teachers and pupils to pupils. And we explain all of that to the children during their first week of the school. We explain all of our rules and the rationale behind it to allow the children to fully understand why we do things.
I'm just going to add to that very briefly, because something that I'm asked quite a lot when I meet parents at open events and things like that is, okay, we understand the strict rules and the high expectations. Does that mean that this is a cold and unfriendly school? And I want to kind of reassure you that that's absolutely not the case. If anything, it's completely the opposite. The clear, consistent rules mean that it's never personal when a child receives a sanction. Almost, everyone knows where the boundaries are and where the lines are, and that means that our staff are free, and the children are free to form really, really strong, warm relationships with their teachers. And I would strongly encourage you to watch our conversation with the students that's on our website for evidence of that. They will speak really warmly about the relationships they have with their teachers, and that's kind of really something that our behaviour system allows us to create.
Great. So I just want to final question in this area, just to address this kind of head on, because with a few questions like this. What would you say to the accusation that we're kind of too strict?
I could see how that from an external perspective may seem like we are strict compared to other schools. But what I would say is those high expectations, those really, really clear boundaries allow all children to benefit from calm lessons, from happy and safe social times, from really positive relationships with teachers to actually, it doesn't feel strict on a day-to-day basis. It feels warm, calm and caring. And that's because of those high expectations that we have.
Great, thank you, Mr. Higgs. Okay, a few more specific ones around the pastoral area that I've had. So I've had quite a few questions. We seem to attract twins. We've got lots of sets of twins already. Policies on twins. Do we put them into separate groups, or do we keep them together?
I think in a general principle, we like all siblings, and obviously that includes twins, to be in the same house together, to allow the family to only get to know a small number of the pastoral staff, because that means you'll only need to know one of our heads of house and one of our assistant heads of houses, rather than having to know multiple different people. But we are open to parental preference in regards to twins. If you've got really strong reasons why you wanted them to be separate, we would try and accommodate that. If you really want them to be together for strong reasons, again, we'd try and accommodate that.
Great. What's our policy around mobile phones?
Do you want me to take that, or do you want to?
I don't mind. Do you want to go for it?
Yeah, okay, I'll go for it. I think the principle behind this is that we want a phone-free environment within our school. We've seen too often the chaos that is caused through kind of use of social media for bullying and things like that, how distracting they can be in school, and also the fact, potentially leading to issues around kind of theft and things like that. So we want to create a phone-free environment within our school. So for that reason, we don't allow phones to be on in school. Children are welcome to have them for the journey to and from school. We recognise that, lots of parents might find that reassuring to be able to contact them, just when they've got to school and so on. But then children need to make sure they are either turned off and in their bag, or they can leave them in reception with us to look after. If a mobile phone is seen or heard during the day, we do confiscate it until the end of term. If that presents any safeguarding risks, we do also offer the opportunity for parents to loan out one of our brick phones for a small deposit, which just has the home number on and the school number, so that if there is a kind of a journey to and from school, they're able to do that safely, and all of us to be reassured that they're safe on that journey.
Great. And what's the school's approach to managing bullying, Mr. Higgs?
So I think we also, at every school, we have a zero tolerance approach to bullying. We want our school to be completely, bullying free. And because of our really, really clear routines and our calm environment, children are really unlikely to come across unpleasant behaviour at the Swan School. However, at every secondary school, you put lots of secondary school children together. Occasionally, children will be unkind and unpleasant to one another. And obviously, one of our key values is around kindness. So we use every opportunity when there is an unpleasant incident to make sure that we investigate it fully. We support both the victim and the person that was responsible for the behaviour. We make sure we educate them. We make sure we repair the relationship between them, so that everyone can learn from that incident. And of course, if bullying persists, we will use our school behaviour policy if we need to, if it continues.
Great. I'm conscious we're kind of running a little bit short on time. We've still got two really big areas to talk about. So we'll start with hopefully with the shorter one on admissions, and then we'll move on to SEN, and I'll see if I can pull together any last threads at the end. One thing I just wanted to clarify, because I had a couple of questions on this. Students do have a kind of free play lunchtime as well as the family lunch. So they have a break time in the morning, and then they have family lunch and time outside to run around and play. So it's not just family lunch at lunchtime. They do have that time to unwind and relax and speak to their friends. So in terms of admissions, most of the questions seem to be around people applying from outside the catchment area. So Ms. Wood, do you want to kind of explain to us how likely it is that they would be admitted with that situation?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I would say is that because we are a relatively new school, our kind of boundaries are not quite as defined as other schools, and that's particularly the case for this year coming up, because we are increasing our intake for year 7. So what I would say is, if you are convinced by everything that we've had to say, and you agree that this is the very best possible place for your child, even if you are outside of the catchment, I would definitely put us down, because there is a very good chance that you will get in. We are oversubscribed for the current year 7, but we're taking an additional 60 children. So you do have, a very good chance of getting in if you are interested in joining us.
Great. There's a question here about a couple of questions about joining the current year 8 cohort. Unfortunately, at the moment, our year 8 cohort is completely full. However, you can join our continued interest list by applying through the county. It's worth mentioning that our admissions aren't managed by the Swan internally. We don't make the decisions about whether you're admitted. It's done by Oxfordshire Council. So it's just really important to remember that. So you can join our continued interest list by contacting the county admissions service. And last question on admissions: what are our main feeder schools, Miss Wood?
So as a kind of link to my previous answer, being a new school, we don't have those really clearly defined patterns just yet. We are taking children from a very wide range of schools. Having said that, the local schools in Marsden are the biggest ones that we do take students from. So New Marsden, St Nicholas's, St Joseph's and St Michael's are the largest schools, but we do take children from far and wide.
Great. And so that is on admissions. I hope that clarifies everything, but obviously email any specific questions. In terms of SEN, our last area, a big one, I'm going to talk kind of a bit generally, what's our kind of general philosophy around SEN. So we approach SEND a little bit differently to most primary schools and indeed most secondary schools. We don't have teaching assistants who support students in class. Instead, we use that budget to employ accelerated learning champions who run specific interventions to support students with what they need. So the biggest thing they do is phonics and literacy interventions at Key Stage 3. So that means, kind of really catching up with their reading and writing. But they also support students with their numeracy. They support with social, emotional, mental health and handwriting, and helping them with their homework and millions of other little things, as well as their pastoral care. Our pastoral team, led by Mr. Higgs, is very involved in those students with special educational needs and kind of helping them to feel as happy and confident as possible at school. One of the things we really believe in is treating these children as individuals. They're not a homogenous group. They're not all the same. They don't all need the same thing. They don't need a specific trip or a label. What they need is the highest expectations and the scaffolds to make sure they can achieve really well. So we kind of refuse to lower our expectations to those students. We believe they absolutely can achieve more than they believe possible. That means anything they want to achieve. So we will strive to do our best to get them there. There's lots of questions about specific needs, dyslexia or autism. I will say that, generally our experience is that autistic children love it here because it is so structured, it's so clear, it's also so calm. They're not going to be overstimulated by large amounts of noise or distractions or ambiguity. They're going to get a very consistent, calm experience. But questions about specific needs are probably best had in a smaller conversation with myself or our Senko or another member of staff. So please do email the email that Kay gives you at the end if you would like to set up one of those conversations. Is there anything you guys want to add? It's quite hard to answer your own questions as well as you're asking them.
No, I think you've covered that well, James.
Okay, great. So questions that have just come in live. What are the house names?
So we've got the house names were decided last year by Year 7 students and parents, and they're all sort of people that are linked to Oxford in some way. So we've got the Hawkin House, the Bannister House, the Berners-Lee House, and the Ususai House.
Fantastic. So a few more questions about the homework and the extended day. So, we don't allow students to opt out of the extended day. It is a key part of our provision. It's something we expect all students to participate in. Our homework policies, most of our homework we expect students to complete as part of the school day because it's done in supervised study. Our homework is centred around independent reading, which may also be done at home. Self-quizzing, which we give students knowledge organisers, where they self-quiz. They have a booklet of quizzes that they're to do in their own time, and also some math practice using a maths app that we use called Manga High. So we don't expect, because we have a long day, we don't expect to encroach further into family time. We kind of hope, our vision is that students get home at kind of roughly 5 o'clock after they've travelled, and then they've got the evening to themselves to pursue their activities, to talk to their family, to rest, have downtime. There may be occasions they're doing bits of homework at home at the weekend, but generally the idea is they do it, the majority of it in school. Answered. This question clarifying about the mobile phones. Did they hear right that we confiscate to the end of term? Yes, that is right.
Yeah, the end of a half term. But we do remind them, and they, about the expectations. And there is also, if they aren't able to turn their phone off by themselves, they're welcome to leave it in reception with us for safekeeping. So there's every single opportunity for them to do the right thing.
Great instruments, we've done that one. There's a question here, probably for you, Mr. Higgs. Could you give some examples or some kind of background about how we would support students who are very anxious about school?
Yeah, so again, I guess depending on the situation and depending on the reasons there'd be a number of things we could do. But we've got, one of the main reasons we would support any child in that situation would be we have each house has a pastoral support champion who is a non-teaching member of staff who's always on hand to support those children, whether that be a check-in with them in the morning before school or popping into their lessons or then maybe popping out of their lessons with a particular, say, retreat pass if they needed support for any particular reason. So that'd be one of the main reasons we would support them. We also work with all the external agencies as well for anyone that needed any sort of particular referrals, to say for CAMS, for example, if we needed to. So we support in those referrals and those work with external agencies.
I mean, I'd also add to that, we work really hard at being really calm, really consistent, and just really, really kind of lowering the kind of temperature so that things aren't hot and anxious. It's very calm. It's consistent and clear, and they know what's expected of them, and they know they won't be shouted at or they won't be hassled. I think that really helps our students with anxiety. We've had questions about rage of sports. We've talked about that. There's a question here about, are we faith-based, which of course is a no.
No.
I think this is most of the questions answered. Some of them we're running out of time as well. I think we might be at our kind of end. Student-teacher ratio. Well, our classes are in 30s, but this year we have 15 teaching staff for 240 students. So, and then plus about 12 or 13 support staff. Is that right? So roughly that's our teacher ratio. So we have lots of staff. There's a question about staff retention. Well, so far we haven't lost any of our teaching staff. We've kept everyone, and we hope to continue that. We make staff well-being and staff kind of happiness and contentness. We know the best way to have happy students is to have happy staff. If our staff enjoy teaching and can enjoy their job, it means that your children will get the best possible experience. So that's really, really important to us. It's something we put a lot of stock in, isn't it? Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
And well, this one, jumping the gun, what range of subjects are we offering for sixth form for September? Well, if you've got any year 12 children, we're actually teaching in partnership with Cherwell for September. So we're going to borrow some courses from Cherwell. But internally at the Swan, English literature, maths, further maths, history, all three sciences, so biology, chemistry, physics, art, French, and music. I think that's everyone. And then we'll look at some other subjects like economics, psychology, and geography from the Cherwell. I think that's it for time.
Great,
guys.
Well, thank you very much. I hope, that was very expertly chaired, James. I hope that's given you quite a good flavour of what we're about as a school and help to answer some of your individual questions. What I would say is that, within this hour slot, we're never going to be able to answer every single question. So if you do still have, things that you want to know that haven't yet been answered, please do email into headteacher@theswanschool.org.uk. That's headteacher@theswanschool.org.uk. That will then get through to us, and a member of our admin staff will be able to then direct your question to the relevant member of our team, either just send you back a quick email or even to arrange a one-to-one conversation. A number of our existing parents have also offered very kindly to speak to any prospective parents who are interested in finding out more about what it's like to be involved in the school kind of from the other side. So once again, if that is something that is of interest to you, please do email in to the head teacher at theswanschool.org.uk with your request, and someone will be able to put you in touch. The final thing that I would say is that if you haven't already, please do take the opportunity to go on to either our website or to our YouTube channel, where you can see lots and lots of videos that are made by kind of our staff, and also featuring our children kind of, you know, just on a regular school day, completely unprepped. And that will kind of, in the absence of being able to do a proper tour around and see the lessons, hopefully really give you a sense of what it really feels to be a student in our school. So just as a final reminder, if you do have further questions, please do email those in to us, and we look forward to seeing hopefully as many of you as possible very soon or in September. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.